Hey guys, GHAZZY TV here with another video. Before I go into the guide, I'm going to talk about my voice still real quick. I've been very sick since the league release, headache and fever 3 days straight, and now I have issues with my voice, which is why this guide has been postponed. Figured my voice is well enough to make this video, so there might be some coughing going on, and it's confirmed not to be corona, so you guys can chill with that. The build is a Necromancer Animate weapon build guide. I leveled with Animate weapon, and it felt rather clunky at first, and it would have been faster with Blast Chain Mine's Arc, for example. However, I had fun leveling with Animate weapon, and that's basically all I'm going to say about it. I'm going to show you some gameplay footage as I'm talking about it. I'm going to go through and explain all the details around the build later after the gameplay, so you can see this as I'm talking about the build. I've been farming Endgame bosses, currently running some boss services on this character, Awakener 8 and whatever, Uber Shaper was also very easy. So the build itself is working as intended, and I'm going to go through and talk about pros and cons of the build, and obviously talk about the differences between this version and what people have been talking a lot about, which has been the cold conversion build version of this, which I might as well do right now as we're doing the map. So the cold conversion is going to cost more currency to reach similar DPS numbers, and you can't reach the same DPS as this Impale strat that I'm going with. It's going to cost you more currency, but the cold conversion obviously has the other perk of providing a defensive layer in the form of sorry, my throat. In the form of freezing, shatter, and chilling enemies. Now, versus content that is very tough and will actually do a lot of damage, that is obviously something that is very preferable. However, the current state of Delirium is providing very nice one-shot mechanics. Though these one-shots are not necessarily always dealt by enemies, there are usually effects that shows up. So it has less to do with something you can prevent, and has more to do with something you need to spot and then dodge. And the recent developer Manifesto, they're talking about nerfing the monsters. So hopefully they're looking into nerfing these one-shot mechanics that honestly they're very well telegraphed. The problem is the speed it takes for them to go from being applied to actually existing, so to say. So there's that. And I just realized you guys don't actually hear the in-game sound in this scene. So you can't hear the pop 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 filter from my range weapons. Either way, it doesn't really matter. So the pros and cons of that. Obviously both versions should work very, very well. I prefer the Impale Strat version because of how easy and cheap it is to gear, because we're using things like Cold Iron Point. Now, Cold Iron Point is something you cannot use with the cold version, not because of the minions not being able to do elemental damage, because that's not the case. Minions can still do elemental damage with this, but if you do an elemental based version and you use Cold Iron Point, you cannot apply elemental equilibrium, which is one of the big features in getting increasing your damage output significantly when your minions are dealing elemental damage. Cold Iron Point will prevent you from doing that, making that a poor choice. So, I did bring up two weapons. So, I'm going to talk about the build now. That's the differences in my opinion, and I prefer this one. And this is a low budget build, and I will show you why it's a low budget. I have two pieces that are a little bit expensive, and we'll talk about them. So, I'm going to bring in POB, and I'm going to talk about the leveling start. If you decide to level with Animate weapon, it's very simple. You start by speccing out these nodes and get yourself Enduring Bond. At level 8, you use Freezing Pulse till level 8. Then you use Ethereal Knives, which you can purchase from Nessa for a Wisdom Scroll, and Animate Weapon, which you get from rewards at level 4. And you buy a Melee Splash, which costs a Transmutation Orb. If you don't have Melee Splash, don't use this. Level with it when you have the Melee Splash. The remaining nodes would then be spec'd into getting Lord of the Dead. You can arguably go to life. I instead went down here and spec'd the minion nodes to then continue down through life nodes into Grave Pact, into going through the life nodes into the increased duration and then just pick up life wherever and take this route into more damage. It's not really that important or a big of a deal. The way the build works is by using a blade ability. In the early stages you use EK. When you get level 28, you're going to use this, which is Blade Fall with Cascade. These will spawn these green blades on the ground. These are melee weapons. Animate weapon is gaining an increased flat added fist damage to these weapons, as you can see in the modifier right here. It adds, in Animate, lingering blades deals X to X added physical damage, making these very, very good. At level 20 something, these weapons will deal more damage than white weapons that you could animate on the ground. So it would be better for you to animate the lingering blades than actually identified items on the ground. However, as you might have noticed, I have with this build 2 animate weapons. The other animate weapon I have is linked with minion damage, GMP, and vicious projectile. My original plan was to have Elder Helmet with minion damage to remove this support gem and add Pierce instead. These are my support minions that I use for clearing, because melee minions are not that good with clearing, but the ranged ones are actually very, very good. So I'm going to show you how that looks, and that's why I have a filter adjusted through filterblade.xyz to show me this annoying pink color, which compared to other items or currency even, very different in terms of how they look. So when I see these on the loot filter, I know I'm going to use my other animate weapon on these, and they will be summoned, as you can see here, with the proper support. The problem is that you also have to use a Spirit Guard jewel. I'm going to talk about a few tips and tricks with this one in a bit. So I will use my ranged animate weapon, supported animate weapon skill on these items, and it's very common that you accidentally click next to it. If there are no other weapons next to it, it will be fine. But if there's a melee weapon in here, it will be fucked up, basically. Where I will be in a situation where I summon a melee weapon supported with GMP and Vicious Projectile, which is then a really bad weapon. Similar to how if you're using your melee supported animate weapon on a ranged weapon, it will look like this, and that ranged weapon will be complete trash. So if I go to a pack now, you'll see one of them shooting GMP projectiles. The other one is shooting single projectiles, as you can see very clearly here. So that's how I do the clearing, by supporting my melee weapons with the ranged weapons, and it's working out very well. And the reason I did that decision over Spectres, because you can use Solar Guards, Baronite Thaumaturge, Templar War Maiden, Slave Drivers even, to you have as your clear speed Spectres. That will be fine, but I am using 2 Spectres, 1 Host Chieftain and 1 Carnage Chieftain. And you could use 2 Carnage Chieftain if you wanted to, which is generally better, but I like having both for boss kills because you get 3 charges pretty reliably versus single target bosses. The Carnage Chieftain generates frenzy charges, the Host Chieftain generates power charges. They are both found in Act 7 Ashen Fields. You can find Carnage Chieftains in Act 2 as well, but both are available in Ashen Fields. So that's why I'm doing this. Cold Iron points were pretty expensive early game. People expected them to be very pricey. So I'm going to show you the market for these right now. Cold Iron points are currently being sold for a whooping amount of 12 chaos up to 20. So let's pretend and round this shit up to 20 chaos. Your cheap endgame items cost 20 chaos each. The first couple of days of a league, they're gonna cost a little bit more. That goes for almost any item in the game. I'm using a pair of normal gloves with some minion damage roll, for example, on these. You can get them fairly easy through, I believe that's Redeemer. Not really needed. You can use rare pair of gloves with life and rest. The best enchant is Flesh Offering because of the comfortability of the increased attack speed as well for your minions. Other modifiers such as increased golem buff is very good because your golem scales from your cold iron points. You can use Dread Banner effect as well, but Flesh Offering is something I'm a big fan of as a helmet enchant. The rings I'm using is, again, stacking up as much HP as possible. So in this case, I got myself Vermilion rings. I spent 5 chaos each, and then I used pristine fossils to craft them for HP, and crafted minimum endurance charge to get myself some endurance charges. I had 3, but I'll talk about my amulet later. Boots, simple, help some dexterity. to sustain the gems, and life and movement speed, rest, that's about it. Same thing with the belt, just get as much HP on it as possible, and then some resistances. The less resistance you need on the belt, the cheaper it's going to become. And that's it. The amulet I have here has +1 level of dexterity gems and +1 level of physical gems. I'm not going to go too much in depth with how to do the very high budget version of this. You can get, for mediocre budget, +1 level of physical gem, because it's cheaper to get that base over the dexterity one, and craft it yourself, which has a higher weight roll than dexterity anyways. And that will scale the level of your carrion golem as well as your animate weapon. For example, in my current build, my carrion golem is level 30, and my animate weapon is level 32. You can bring this up higher, but it's not that much of a big deal. You don't need this for higher budget. You can settle with a rare one, bench crafted endurance charge if you want to be tankier, and that's done. Chest piece, it looks crazier than it is. The corruption, it doesn't do anything for this build, and it's kind of bad because anyone who could utilize those would use other colors. So the only thing I benefit from is actually active socket skill gems. I bought this chest piece with the active skill gems, attribute requirements, life, and the resistances unlinked for 25 chaos. I then crafted it, linked it, and I slammed the 49 strength. And if you check the market, I'll show you how to do that search real quick. Remove that, take a body armor, active skill gem, like this, with a life roll, done, search. And you can see that, oops, yeah, no, that's right. You can see that if you buy something like this, it's 60 chaos, that's a bit expensive, so you can roll down. This one has an open brief. Oh, this one is actually better than my chest piece, in my opinion. 8 chaos. The problem with this, 4 off colors, but it's fine. 8 chaos to get +1 level active skill gems, tons of dexterity, life. All you do with this one would be to link it, and you would first craft something that increased quality on it, then socket, link it, craft a % life, and then slam it if you want to. That's basically what I did. 8 chaos, it's cheaper than what I paid for mine. So there's plenty of these options. However, this build works perfectly fine utilizing a tabula rasa, skin of the loyal. Currently a tabula rasa, you can farm that yourself, but you can get a tabula rasa with increased level of duration gems for 48 chaos and a +2 level of gems, which would give you more level of gems than what I get from my current chest piece to give you even more damage if you want to. So that's basically the gearing, and I'm going to talk about real quick the level caps of minions. As you see, I have level 32 animate weapon. I can then have up to 20 animated weapons. I think that at level 35, you can have 22. So I'm pretty certain that every 2 levels you get an additional weapon. So I believe that at level 33 that I could get 21 blades, and at level 35 I'd be able to have 22 blades. So it scales with the levels. Their HP scales with levels as well, which is why it's very important when you're leveling that you spec into Indomitable Army early on till you get yourself a Cold Iron Point dagger. After you got yourself your 2 Cold Iron Point, you can remove the Indomitable Army and you won't have any survival issues with them. Trying to see what else we need to talk about. My throat's killing me. That's about it. Every area you go into, you have to do this. Spawn your blades, summon your minions, then play. That's how you have to do it, which is a bit annoying. I'm using melee splash, which I'm changing for melee physical for single target, and that's basically it. I believe rest I can show. Whoa, mana flask is important. You want to get yourself a mana flask. Spam some alteration, get yourself enduring mana flask. This enduring flask makes it so that the mana doesn't stop ticking, even if your mana is full. And that helps make it a lot more comfortable getting your shit sorted. Now talk about the links and the gems. Very easy. First, Spirit Guard requires 40 dexterity within radius. These 40 dexterity do not need to be allocated. Here's a trick to see that it's working. I'll show you that real quick. If you hover over the jewel socket, it will tell you what this jewel socket is doing. And it shows that it's giving me the minion damage and the ranged weapons, which is above the cap. It's additional weapons. The 40 dexterity is located here, 5, 5, 20, and 10. So we already know this one's working in that position. Skill gems, moving on. I am using minion damage, brutality, impale, multi-strike, melee fist. And I changed melee fist for melee splash to help my ranged weapons early game to make sure that they do some good clearing. And then I changed in melee physical only for really hard endgame bosses, guardians, elder guardians, shaper guardians, shaper elder, uber elder, uber Siri, and Awakener and Conquerors. That's about it. Everything else I kill with melee splashing maps. I don't care. Bladefall linked with Cascade. I have a Flame Dash in there for mobility. Pride, Flesh and Stone in Blood Stance to apply Maim, increase damage. Flesh Offering, obviously. Pride requires you with this circle, as you can see, the circle requires me to be with a very close proximity of the enemies. So that's pretty important. Desecrate, Feeding Frenzy, Carrion Golem with Maim. The Carrion Golem with pop Maim and Feeding Frenzy. Easy. Auras and Spectres. Spectres linked with Blood Magic to generate charges. Convocation and Dread Banner, again just for damage, and Convocation just to help you clear faster. Your clearing when you're leveling goes so much better once you get Convocation from Act 3. And then my ranged animate weapon. This is a topic that we can discuss for a long time. This is what I'm using from a ranged animate weapon. If you want to make the build tankier, there's a few options. Drop one of your daggers, get a shield. The other option, skip ranged animate weapon, get a Cyclone, infused channel, fortify life gain on hit combination. That will give you a lot of defense to make you a lot tankier, but your clear speed will suffer significantly compared to having this. Pantheons, very simple. I'm using Solo Lunaris to avoid projectiles that I've chained. Before I got this, I was using Solo the Brine King to upgrade the Hollow Husk. You do so from a Palace map. Or where the fuck is it? There it is. The other Pantheon is Shakari. I use this for immunity to poison. I like it. In the end, Pantheons are a matter of personal taste. Bandits, kill them all. Someone in the chat was saying, talk about charges on rings. Like I mentioned earlier, I do believe I mentioned it. If you want to stack up better defenses, you can craft minimum endurance charges on your rings and amulets to get 3 endurance charges, which gives you a little bit of rest and defense. I believe I covered everything. I will link in the description below a POB and also a forum written guide that I will make within a couple of days. So we'll have a forum guide in there. Good thing you mentioned Ascendancy. I didn't actually talk about that. Start Mistress of Sacrifice because it gives you 60% plus 10 from the node before, 70% duration, as well as having the offerings affect you. My personal preference of leveling this build fast, if you still want to go animate weapon, would be to use Arc Blast Chain Mines till you get Mistress of Sacrifice, then switch to animate weapon. Secondly, you want to run to Mindless Aggression just to reach unnatural strength on the Merc Lab. Uber Lab, you can take Bone Barrier or Commander. It depends on what your personal preferences. Okay, so in the description below, I will within a few days link a forum guide, so it will be there soon, not when this is uploaded. PUB will be there from the get-go, and I want to finalize this with a couple of pointers. I know I'm uploading content on my secondary YouTube channel because my main YouTube channel is hacked. If you want to help, feel free to go into my Twitter, retweet the posts I make towards YouTube because it seems like they're not responding unless they're actually getting some heat on social media, as they have been responding to me when people have been retweeting and commenting and liking. So if you want to help, feel free to do so. I will be keeping you guys posted on whenever I get my YouTube channel back. And yeah, usually I would tell you to subscribe, like, and comment on the video, but this is just my secondary channel. Feel free to let me know in the comments below what you guys feel about the build, and if you think that other builds are better. I will mention the damage on POB is incorrectly calculated. POB is not calculating animate weapon correctly at the moment, so don't go by the numbers. I think that I've covered everything. Sorry about my throat. Hope you guys could hear what I said, and sorry for prolonging the video a little bit. I'll see you guys on my stream. I'll keep you posted on the Discord and Twitter about my situation, and anyone who's helping out on the Twitter, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for all the help, And I will be uploading some more guides on this YouTube channel very soon, including an Atlas progression guide, including a new builds I'll be making very soon. So to save my throat, till next time, stay safe, keep rocking, have a good day.